Once upon a time, in a land far, far away called Fictitiousville, where everything is fake and not a square meter is real, except the news. I knew a man who had the most beautiful wife, so beautiful in fact she had her hair done every day so that her beauty would not be wasted. He would shower her with gifts, fancy trips, luxury cars, and she would say, "More, more." She would say every day, all day, "More." Soon, he bought the hair salon for her with money hardly earned. She said, "More." He bought the advertising agency that promoted the hair salon, and by God, she said, "More." He would get these giant red novelty bows and wrap them around the most beautiful cars, flowers, and yachts, and endless puppies and kittens. She would say, "More, more, more." Cooking and dancing lessons, parties and drugs. Grapevines were connected directly to her taps for any region or vintner. And one day she did say less to her plastic surgeon about this part here and that line there, grimace lines and sad frown lines. Naturally, she did eventually say, "More." Ever since she was a little girl, she wanted a castle, a dream she learned that could become true even in this day and age. That would be the top for her. In her mind, there was nothing more beyond that point. So her husband stepped out on the line and bought the castle by the river that just floated up on the buyer's market. And everything was calm. She was suddenly surprisingly content, complacent, and complete. She said to her king, "Enough," and excused him from the scene. Of course, he was quite drunk at the time, so she banished him to the old dwelling among the commoners where the bills were sent. Eventually, the numbers didn't add up fast enough. They never really did, and he couldn't manage the exponential pace of all that was spent. He knew the day would come, and it had. Now in his desperation, the plan started to hatch. Burn it. Burn it all down. You see, the insurance will pay for everything, and he can do it all over again, all expenses paid. What a brilliant plan! First, it was the salon, all the hair and chemicals burned to the ground, permanently vaporized. Even the fire was completely gone when the authorities arrived. The nightclub explosion was all over the papers. Unfortunately, during the tragic fire, he and his most beautiful wife were away on their yacht, which sunk into the ocean, bow and all, as they soon returned to the States. The insurance company was not amused. The man's stories always checked out. An upstanding citizen, without a doubt. Well, then one day he realized, no, suddenly a genie, yes, that would be cool, but there was no then one day scenario. It's still happening now. His gigantic brain is constantly churning out new ideas and pitching them like ad man at a cigarette factory. Failure is not an option for this guy, and he just spins the machine faster. How can it go any faster? Who knows? The ground eventually gets what it rightfully owns. Me, after I've tromped all over it, every drop of water, every wave of energy is just temporarily misplaced from the very center of the earth. And like moths to a flame, if we imagine our wings are larger, can we prolong the time before we hit the fire? Probably not. He's contemptuous to the world. On the world he sees reflects back his amplified contempt. And he spins, trying to overcome. impossible odds. Scene.
Forward. 40 feet down, 2.5.
I am broadcasting to you live on this 50th anniversary of the moon landing from the very spot where I was a 1-year-old boy, just taking some of my first steps. It's called the La Jolla neighborhood, which, as luck would have it, now a second time is an active construction site. So my boyhood home, kept in good shape all these years, because I do I do the creepy drive-bys. And it more recently had the giant metal black star, you know what I mean? The production value! Someone got in the business of making big aluminum stars. Silence shrouds the forest. Someone had the idea. As the birds announce the dawn. Yeah! 3 travelers for the river. That's it! My God! Giant anomaly stars for the world to have! Road is lined with peril. The air is charged with fear. Well, the star is gone. The roof is ripped right off. His nearness weighs like iron teeth. The old Greenbrier Circle home and the new frames for cathedral ceilings are starting to rise well into the neighbor's entire view of the heavens. If you know what I mean. My dad had the Greenbrier Railroad built O and HO scale in the basement of this house. He was then in his early 20s, bound now by the same Episcopal church that betrothed so many others. And the liturgy and incense clouds are thick, and I'm sure in his mind, and I'm sure now, it was so thick that his bullshit detector was going off early. And the only real place he could find solace is in a world where he is the boss. I think we can all understand that one. So he's building model railroads down there, a world where he just builds only to his specifications. And I know because my mind of an engineer took all those apart one day to create my own solace and broke some of his most prized locomotives. He was never upset about it in a very strange way. So, not a promising engineer. He had them all painted, all the rolling stock to have the GBRR logo and the color scheme. And this is what my dad did, presumably when he was expecting or when I was a baby. And first there was my sister, and then 4 years later there was me. My sister, of course, was born while they were doing time in the penitentiary. It's a sad story. But then when I came onto the earth, I was the wanted child, and they had settled into a more reasonable home. I look back now, and I still see all of his ambition. He had these ad agencies and letters to people and these humorous comic work, I guess he was doing with an artist, which was terrific. And I still have this shoebox that I carry around every time I move from address to address. It's full of what's left of the Greenbrier Railroad and all these model steam locomotive parts. And I'd hoped to someday resurrect in my dad's honor, all the way back when I was a kid. This has been my plan, to convert to the naturally live steam. That's why it's taken me so long. It somehow is heated from the electric from the track, and now we have the technology. We can easily make this work and make a live steam from the electric. But back in those days, we just didn't have, I guess we just didn't have the wire small enough or something. But really want to get this restored to our intended glory of live steam. Running at 3/8, bitches, okay? Just so you gotta know. Also, and really more importantly, these would be the centerpieces to the cafe I've told you about called Choo Choo Charlie's. It's the cafe. Gosh, there's a couple of locations that are open right now for it. And basically trains stop at your table and they get your order and then they bring it back on the train. And there's, model trains everywhere. The table has its own train. No real interaction with people except for maybe the crazy yard hobo. Hey, what you doing? Comes out from time to time to compare the food quality to what he gets from a dumpster. Hey, you whatever scurries in the backyard, hey, good times, woohoo! I know, I'd hire somebody who would actually make it a little bit more enjoyable for the people. We don't have a lot of good novelty places like that here. We did, and a couple, and they've just not worked. So I want to do one that doesn't work also, because they make tons of money before they don't work. You just got to get out in time, baby. That's all. And then you got a model railroad place. You can sell model railroad, turn the place into a model railroad place. And that place, you're printing money in those places. People come in and spend tons of money on their railroads. But, whatever. My memories are basically limited. And so I've been really honed in on the model railroad and just the railroad portion of my life. Very heavy on the railroads growing up. And so 50 years ago, when the world was glued to this worst TV show otherwise, watching this moon landing, it's very hard to watch and hear and understand all that's happening. Plus, it's 8 days long. There's some dark times when, he's circling the dark side of the moon, and there's no commercials. So really more proof that Hollywood was not involved. But now they had to have a show on the Science Channel that, maybe those Hollywood doubters are right. You have to imagine that at the time, the Cold War was about technology. It's like wars have always been about technology. It was metal, and now man was thrusting his might with harder and harder rods of metal. And it really topped out with A-bomb, the ultimate sword. And so in July 1969, broadcasting our boys from the moon is a nuclear weapon directed at the Russians, who are still trying to build the tallest TV tower antenna, which is this peculiar thing that's now called, they destroyed it, but it was called the Tower of Death, because all it was good for is a number of people who jumped to their deaths from this thing. It was over 700 feet tall. It was just amazing feat of engineering. But the contemporary battleground was mass communication. And I'm sure they were looking back on their old cannons and all their gun and artillery and just thinking, we have TV now. We've got this big obelisk for our propaganda. And anyone could have predicted that it was going to be the next theater for war, but, here we are. And if no one has, I'm saying it is. It has begun. Presidents are speaking to the world's leaders through the TV, just as our supreme leader is using Twitter. So we're pivoting. And I get it. History repeats itself, but gosh. Key strategic pieces are moving around the board. Propaganda machine is still being used, but it's outdated, and we can see the wires on the TV, the cable these days, just as Italy had to resort to 18th century weaponry 100 years later when they were attacked and they had to roll out the rhinoceros. 100-year-old weaponry, and now TV is getting its smaller and smaller place. When, now it's actually anonymous hackers paid with anonymous, untraceable money or the true terrorists. Anything gray and sinister is Russian. Click here on this red sickle. The Equifax hack. By the way, get your checks, people. It takes seconds to have them send you a $125 check. Yes, the Russians may get your address, but That alone makes this show worth it today. You get $100, $125 today. And let's role play this. Okay. You know, that Gib is right. That show sure was funny, but now that I've listened to it completely now 3 or 4 times, I'm going to do what he said. Okay. Equifax. Okay, here. My name? Sure. And last 6 digits of my... Well, all right. Seems like this is legit. Oh, yep. I'm one of the 148 million people that the Kremlin is stalking. Huh. We're all hoping they'll delete these student loans, but we can dream. Now, choose... Now, important. Choose the check for the buck and the QT. Give them your mailing address and get the hell out. Okay? Don't take the option for free credit monitoring and, Russian language lessons. Jesus, what the hell? Also, if you had your identity stolen or the hack caused you specific damage and you had to spend your own time, then you are in luck and your future is now. Get on that. The worst you can make today is $125. Boom, takes you seconds.
Hey, could you get off this? Hey,
broadcast was hacked long ago. It was an easy hack. The hack is so physical, you just follow the money. So you find Mormons, Jews, and Russians controlling the American media. Yay! And Trump at some point. God, at some point in 2012, when the Mayan calendar was ending, and there were some other predictions that were pointing toward the end of civilization, the History Channel all of a sudden became the Doomsday Channel about this very certain future. Every show on this History Channel, well, before then wasn't even, they just couldn't even do history anymore. They'd just run out of history to talk about. I mean, how the states got their names, that show just didn't work very long. New Jersey, come on, let's do New Jersey. Let's go watch the one about New Hampshire again. Because that's the one, that has my relatives in it. Every show on the History Channel was about the certain destruction of the near future. Every show. I mean, I got an extra propane tank and stocked up on weed, porn, and bullets, and alcohol. Well, December 22nd came, and it was over for that channel completely. Everything they said on countless shows about the certainty of December 21st, 2012 being the last day of civilization, ironically kind of sealed their own fate, and now history is history. Well, now it's the Science Channel, and you know how much solace I've been getting from this channel, but now they're tapping the Aryan nationalist Nazi sympathizer. And it's the strangest thing in broadcast history. You're watching along about scientists tracking a planet 40 million light years away, let's say, okay? And all this nice data, beautiful shots of telescopes spinning around and deep field objects. And the next thing you know, it's a show about aliens and reputable people talking about how our pure DNA was left here by aliens and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, it's a show about Hitler. I am not kidding you. What happened here? Okay, either that or I'm just not kidding you. Either that or you're watching about something peculiar. Land formation, strange area seen from space, very intriguing, and it's a Nazi bunker, and a show about the history of Hitler. Wait, I mean, come on, guys. I don't want, any rating services to know that I'm watching shows about Hitler. Don't want even my show having that in it. I go, gosh. I had a brother-in-law, nice enough guy, super smart, super funny, amazing Hitler memorabilia collector. He has mannequins dressed up in their full gear, set up in the house for all to see. It's some of the first things you see when you walk into the house. Never could take him seriously. In fact, here's a fun game you can play at home. Woo! While you're watching the last days of the Science Channel, you and your friends can pick words like vast and massive, and someone can be the word Nazi. And, just turn on the Science Channel and suddenly you have sort of a drinking game, and everyone drinks when they hear their word. Or, I don't know, it's a game show network. Everyone gets $10, and, from me or whatever, wherever you get it, I don't care. Right there. I should have made that your $1 million idea for the day, but I might have one. Can't remember it yet, but we can do the rest of today's show, okay? Since the words vast and massive are both vastly and massively overused, particularly by the Nazis. So, see, on this show they lose too, so what do you do? So, I take the first steps with the country. My horoscope is in step synchronously with the horoscope of our country.
You were taken in the night. No one knows where you are.
I know this sounds crazy, but what else have I got? My sweet baby and still abducted daughter has been read to have the chart of our very own president. And we all protest it, but it's true.
Locked from ever dreaming in this world.
And some days, I can absolutely see the existential parallels. Maybe you can too.
No one ever wants to take your place. No one ever wants to tell your space. No one ever wants my disgrace.
An outside influence is controlling a person, otherwise normal person, to lie, cheat, steal, and to cover for being selfish and putting his own needs above the country. Gosh, sounds like everybody, right? Oh, well, I mean, that's been a president of a country, I guess. I should qualify. In the last few decades, I should also probably narrow, because we had some real good, actually just really in the last, because Obama was so wonderful, I'd say just really actually. It's not the country, or the president that's making things go awry. We know now, everybody, that it is this outside, mysterious, clandestine influence. Okay. We know who it is now. The influencer is Russia. But there's this controlling percentage of people, effectively, that control the whole country. They're still going to pretend that they believe otherwise.
Taking away every thirst. Taking away every lust. Taking away all my nerves.
Nah, that's all fake news then, huh? There's no outside Russian influence. And if there is, you know what? It's not illegal. Hey, we're just winning elections here. It's not harmful. You know what it is? It's diplomacy. Look at our president go. He's making friends overnight with all the bullies all around the world campus. Man, he's now been shown to have his pedo friends out there and getting special deals from his appointees. And we knew that's what his appointees are for, to make just awful decisions on his behalf. He goes to these pedo parties, and you can see him palling around with all these people. They hand out light sentences to these awful people that are predating on children. The thing is that he knows that when he leaves office, if he doesn't get that second term, then something big will have to happen, or he will be dragged out of the White House after I guess, a messy standoff with the whole staff, led by his wife.
Get out, you stupid teenage boy! Don't ever call me again!
Did Jesus send to appease us, please us, forgive us, maybe just tease us, not above but beneath
Look,
us, Jesus.
it's not by choice that I'm a Trump impersonator. So that has to be throwing off the stars. Or they knew that I would eventually have this crossing with the stars, and I have no other choice but to be a Trump impersonator, to deal with this confusing energy.
Kids waiting on a candy bus.
You know, so I go out in places, you know, in the community, schools, churches, wholesome places, car dealerships, you know, wholesome places, and present this president in a light that, you know, gets us all on the same page. And right now, that same page should be us uniting because, pick a reason, we've all got ourselves a bona fide wolf in the hen house here, and we're all hens. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Any cockle-doo, any cockle-doo for you.
Kids waiting on a candy bus.
We were sold straight down the river he drained with the swamp that he inherited. Consider the oppression of the press, these outright racist ideals and xenophobic responses to the world. Sound familiar? Battle cries like, "Go back to your crime-ridden countries." To the brown women senators who rise up against this guy. If you don't like it here, you can just leave. He's imprisoning the illegal immigrants, just like, I guess, all the presidents before him, they say. But, you know, the press, fake or not, is actually really showing avoidable human tragedies. I saw the 1-year-old, the babies screaming for their parents, and those babies are never going to have a parent come to them. That is unacceptable. We have human rights. We have civil rights. Everyone has civil rights in our country. And here it is. The truth is being cried out of the mouths of these babes from these makeshift cages, unfit for any massive group of animals. Dogs don't even get this treatment. How many of these folks incur new violations during this improvised incarceration without representation? Huh? How many aneurysms suddenly form on people that may have just fallen and hit their head or had an aneurysm, then hit their head? We don't know. Aneurysms, God, they just happen. That's how the game is played. That's how Elizabeth Smart's supposed first abductor died, the night after. That guy was a dad. He had nothing to do with it. But that's what they do to these people that are in cages. They're dehumanized. They're wrapped in tinfoil, sitting in these huge groups behind cages, and they're being looked after by people who just don't have a heart for that. But remember, it's a deal with the devil. He's going to violate the rights of women, children, and now religion and skin color is starting to thin the herd. He told you all of this while he was running for president. And the biggest mistake everyone can make is to keep underestimating the damage that he's doing and will continue to do because of this outside influence that he has to cover for. Now even more than ever. So that's everybody. We all need to be in on this. And I know that my show's not reaching everybody. So tell your friends. And then tell your friends about my show, especially the weird ones. Not there's some of your friends, and don't tell Donna, okay, in accounting. She's not going to like the show. She's just not. She likes those, Geico commercials. Don't tell Donna, or, Not that I'm saying Donna's all like the Geico commercial. I think there's, they might be into that emu guy too. All right. Have I gone? I said that's enough. That's enough of that. I got to talk about something else. And last time on the show, there was this short discussion about the condensation of dishonesty. And we talked about condensation of dishonesty, contempt, and dismissal. And we reduced it to a state of irreducibility. And today, I want to take one more tiny step toward distilling a core explanation of human selfishness. Fall with me to the center of the earth. Fall with me. In a word, timing. Just as a painter or photographer might say life gets down to rays of light, and everything is just old sunlight in one way or the other. Or a farmer might frame things with the cycle of life, or an umbrella the size of the vast universe. A steam locomotive engineer would say pressure makes massive and small things work. Or you can agree with a printer and call balance the ultimate common denominator. Why don't you just fall? As you know, I'm an editor, I'm a musician, ultimately a dynamic communicator. And for me, it gets down to timing. Without timing, nothing ever happened, and we don't exist. So it really is the ultimate trump card. Time. And it's one of those things we know so much about and yet know very little. And when I try to quantify, what it even is in my brain, like I can think of water and I can think of fire and air and dirt, but time. And in this world, we have rehearsed to say, what about time? Time is money. And have a good time, we tell people. And there's no concern for money there. We're just telling people to have a good time at the show. Not go out and make lots of money, but then we say, well, time is money.
Don't wait this time out. Don't toss the time out till we turn our lives on it.
Have a good time at Gordon Ramsay's debtors camp. Maybe someday. The last refuge before Trump starts locking up student loan deadbeats. God, maybe he'll appoint Gordon Ramsay as somebody. We can only hope. It used to be people were paid in salt. Back in Jesus' times, the proof is in the word salary. That's all I know. That's all we need to know. No, people were not paid in celery or salty celery or chips with celery salt. As you know, from season 1, that celery salt, it's a mid-mountain delicacy. But if you manage to come across the Bonneville Salt Flats out here in Utah, you'd be infinitely rich. But only Jesus came here during that time, according to the Mormons, who are now non-Mormons. because he came to check on the lost tribe or two, I guess, of the Aztec Mexican Israelites. He had some things to check up with them in upstate New York, where they were. It just makes me laugh even talking about it. Yeah, they skipped all the other states too, went straight for upstate New York, where it's just so much nicer there. When you've seen the whole country by foot and sandal, you really want to just settle in upstate New York. So he's used to getting his money out of the mouths of fish, so he really never ventured past upstate New York himself to see the beauty of, where the Aztec Mexican Israelites came from. God, how did they get there? Well, it was a long walk is the answer. And, he would have seen the treasure trove of salt. He could have grabbed like a quick 5 pound, he could just grabbed a quick 5 pound bag and made the whole story, a bit more plausible, really. Salt Lake wasn't a creative name. It just arose out of absolutely no budget left to come up with a name. And Salt Lake was, always that natural excuse for the early settlers who were fooled into settling here thinking they had just scored pristine shoreline property. Location, low, this is fine. It is truly pre-existent circling the drain and ocean that covered half the U.S. It evaporated, I guess it started 250 million years ago during the last global warming event, and the last of it dried up in about 15,000 years ago. And it's now reached what's called the Provo level. Okay, everything's Provo. What a nice term that says perfect, but in a way only Provo can do. Everything is Provo. My 20-year crush, and all I have is the cure. I wondered why I waited a lifetime to find I'm not the one for you. That I never was and I never will be just the best thing that you've got going on. The best thing that you've got going on at the time. What's wrong with that? I said. Well, what a score these days if you can find gold, and now that weed can be double the price of gold per gram, everybody wants to chase that commodity. Buy it wholesale, dress it like something it's not to maximize its marketplace potential. Sell, 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 and then lather, rinse, and repeat. You knew I could. You know that I can. Cast my spells and make you so you can never fly away. Never fly away. But what about this commodity of time? We've all shared it. We're all hopelessly locked to the same clock. Or are we? You left me here with a cure, and I watched you struggle. Be ashamed at who I must be, and how you think I might not love you, and how you think I wouldn't love you. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? I mean, again, in my mind, I see this timeline, and on one side, clear to the right, I see light, speed. Okay, just light. And there's all these absolutes that set the rules for that world over there of light. Like there's zero gravity, zero passage of time. For example, if a moving clock runs slow, well, then at light speed, it's just nearly stopped. We don't age as fast as our earthbound twins do. Oh, also free Slurpees. But it's on July 11th, just the same as here, so it's not really bonus. But the heat is dreadful. Everyone talks about how hard it is to get going light speed, and it is. But if you hop into the sun, you don't have that problem with the propellant on your back. And for you, light speed will just be instantaneous after what seems like an eternity of burning pain. Okay. So that's one side of my vision. And on the other side, are the dark side. The
dark side are black holes.
Under the stars, under the sands, under the code that binds his hands.
On the other side, the dark side, there are these black holes where the gravity is so intense that the hands, I guess, on our clock are now going light speed. While time appears the same to me. But in the time it takes for my reflection to get back to my eyes, I've aged lifetimes. Now that we have these pictures of black holes from the Event Horizon Project, more proof about their existence, and then so too is the nature. And that is effectively an eternal place. Open to receive all possibilities, all possible possibilities. Open to receive all lights. Even the light at the other end of this demonstration actually resides in this place. And what happens is that the hole we fall into here is, by nature, all possible possibilities are within that place. Jesus and evolution. Possibilities that become possible on the fly throughout our lives. Red car, blue car, Denver, Detroit. Who knows, what sort of things you've made possible, but they never manifest. But in this place where not me, but top scientists of the Science Channel are saying these things. And, you're saying, well, why again? And you know what? This is the loop we get in over this. So the answer is, well, because of math. Time passes differently for the inhabitants of black holes compared to the gang at the equator. Therefore, infinite amounts of time have passed, therefore making all things possible. And so, since the possibility of being swallowed up and inside of a black hole is a real possibility, and it may have happened 3 or 4 times just while uttering this statement in some other outside reality, and if all possibilities are in that place, then there are infinite versions of my trivial life. All possibilities mean all possibilities. Again, not me. This is Hawking's legacy. Understood or not, it was the same way with Newton and Einstein. They said the least amount possible to explain as many things that they could without pissing off the church. Especially Newton, and certainly not Hawking. He was not a big fan of the lard and crater, as we say here in La Jolla, where we're broadcasting today. We didn't notice because Newton said we won't, because we don't. Constant speed means all the same laws of physics apply here as they do there. I remember one of the great comedian Carlin's jokes was, "Do you ever notice when you're sitting in your car and another car starts moving and you feel like you're moving?" That was like his bit. It was a joke he would do. It was funnier, too, when he did it. I'm not sure if that really said, but if you remember Carlin, do you ever notice that that's what we're talking about? You're in your car sometimes. If you're going constant speed, you can play tennis and microwave a burrito. You can do all the things that you can do sitting in your kitchen for the most part. Never mind, you can't really microwave a burrito in your car. What am I thinking? What are you driving these days? A microwave car? No way. All right, so I've digressed. I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that everything is relatively normal. Simply put, if you're a person who believes there are 2 sides to every coin, then you're in good company. And you also believe there are not 2 sides to every coin. Sorry about that. It's like we have our President Trump, but he comes with this whole cavalcade of anti-presidential energy, okay? And it's this anti-president simply because he puts himself, his timing, ahead of the entire free world. His golf trips, Twitter time is all Trump time. All murder, I've said this before, but all murder is effectively a person or group killer deciding that all of their time should permanently come before the killee. Some did it slow, like Rockefeller. And who knows how many have died and will keep dying because he got rich off of burning the earth. I mean, can't we just stumble upon a vast, massive quantity of time like the Mormons did with salt? We get paid for time. Seems reasonable. We should be more aware of it. Right now, you can hear it. My washing machine is playing its little song that it sings when it's time. I need you to come and quickly empty me. Put everything aside. It's all right. Sometimes there's legal interruptions. You can tell when a stranger is approaching to ask a question other than hello and, how's it going? We're hyper aware of time. Or hey, at least I am. And since most people are paid by time, to put the timing of the company and its values before the person exclusively all day until the end of the day, then you have no time to call your own. And, there's the time that isn't any different, whether you're working for the guy. It gets confusing because you just sleep and then you're thinking about work. Oh, that should be company time. But it's not. It's your own personal time, and you're thinking and dreaming and daydreaming about your time at work. Another, I guess, socially appropriate interruption is if I'm working for a company. I've got the company uniform on, and even if I'm talking, eating, doing anything, if a guest, or customer approaches me, I am trained to set everything aside, regardless of cost, loss, or value. Where's the bathroom? Lost children? Hurt people? Yeah, they all should get immediate attention, so I got no problem with that. It's when I run into people who are just off the clock, but they're still roaming the amusement park out of costume, and their time has been so repressed that they have to go out and be mean and unruly to the public to get back for some of that lost time. Look, Newton said it plain and simple. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And he was fine with the word every. I have this guest-oriented mindset. So, I get the off-duty person who's telling me, hey, you should check online, for Mayo. Absolutely. They go intentionally dumb because they're so bitter with their employer's abuse of their time. I guess it's as if. And zero gratitude is never a great place, especially if it becomes reciprocal. And so, what is the pressure that drives this thing? The equilibrium that we're seeking to achieve? Well, to live on this earth, if you're a dog, you need a microchip, you're going to need a collar, you're going to need a good couple of bowls, and you are good to go. Okay? That's a dog. Cat, just basically the bowl. The bowl, and just really a tinfoil is fine. Humans, all things aside, a random person needs to own hundreds of dollars in things like toothbrushes to birth certificates to just to make life on Earth among civilization, profitable. Everyone has to have shoes. Everyone's got to have a phone. My phone just broke. Like all of a sudden, just stopped where I have to pay $36 a month to live on this Earth for this phone. I got my car. I mean, if you don't have those things, your timing's not going to be in step with the stampede of life that's going on. and you'll just get bowled over. So if I refuse to adopt one or more of these life necessities, like a LinkedIn account or a Facebook page or a phone or texting or email, come on. Oh, me? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't communicate via email. Did you send me something important? I mean, I have email boxes at every banking site, profile, portal. Honestly, do I really have 5 unread messages from hot singles in my area? I mean, are they hungry? This one says they're hungry. I mean, I have messages to check. I'd go out. I really would. And all, I like to eat out and everything, but seriously, there are a lot of messages I have to concern myself with now. I gotta set my timing aside so that I am, see what happens? So it's all timing, and it's inescapable. I'm gonna go on to say that it's all in the timing when it comes to separating the sheep from the wolves. And there's no better human example than a sense of humor. It's great to get a laugh from time to time, right? But true comedy, for me, has a deeper core. Timing in comedy comes from the gut. We all love the, did you ever notice? And then it evolved into the, what's the deal with cancer? And we're starting to better understand the, intelligence of our entire being. Comedians point out the obvious in this sort of non-threatening way. It's highlighted by the risk of the jokester exposing the truth. Really, comedians are whistleblowers at heart, pointing out inconsistencies with the fourth wall that our society is built with lies and myths and misconceptions about others. Right? It's not okay for us to have a president that is now a love bro with North Korea's Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. He made diplomacy history so he could go have a one-off or a sword fight while they piss on the actual line that separates the world from a place that in the future it's just going to have to be different. These two kids are going to fight. Okay, the rules are an overnight Twitter message means business. And we can only hope that their missiles, that the U.S. is freely allowing them to test, that they don't cause any harm, but usher in a new era of peace. It's obvious Russia is going to continue trying to crush China and the U.S. somehow, and having the U.S. and Korea as bros now, under duress as it may seem, but it all feels real tactical. And comedians point out the tactical. So that's a subtext of what we've been talking about today. But, if you're not funny like me and just awkward and frighten people to the point where they'll pay doctors to say I'm clinically not funny, well, people converse, and there's still timing, and there's still interruptions, rambles, dominating the conversation. I've noticed recently, while regularly spending time with a new friend who I'd consider to be more, competitive than most people, and I also have a control person that I'm watching to make sure I'm not, I'm doing a good study here. Okay, I got 2 people I'm looking at, and I've noticed that people interrupt other people, and they use sort of the timing left for legal interruptions that I mentioned earlier, but I've noticed that, while just meeting a person, we set up boundaries with each other by using timing. People know they can frustrate people if they interrupt them just right, help them forget what they were trying to say, points they were trying to make, confuse them. Frequency is timing. We can sense that in people. We can sense vibes in people. That guy's vibe, right? A stranger you're walking along says hello, and already there's a message. I can say hello back, like, who says hello? Are you from here? Or, hello, like, I'm in customer service too. Let's make hello more of a public greeting. Some lady at the dog park will bellow out a long-winded hi. Could mean anything. Point is, we send out a pulse and we reciprocate. It's not psychic. It's not anthropomorphization. We know from hours of daily practices of saying hi and investigative questions like, how are you? What's up? What's going on? How was your day? Sometimes verbally, sometimes just in the car, sometimes circumstantially. Always, people can eventually find a way to block the path of other people's apparent trajectory of future timing. And this is the key. Much like how we test something like, let's say just out of the oven for temperature. What happens is a person will either interrupt more often or less often, depending on when they reach this point where the interruption is too hot. Person usually says, don't interrupt me. They say things like, I can't keep track of what I'm trying to talk about because you keep interrupting me. And people will set social boundaries very quickly after quick conversations where it's really the audio track that has the most profound influence on the nature of the relationship and the communication. So in our continuing look at the mechanics of communication, this is the lens to focus some energy on with mammalian interactions even. You can see malicious blocking manipulation with cats and dogs. I can only imagine sea lions can be very imaginative about manipulating other creatures. Oh, I see you're going here. I'm going to go there and make it harder for you to... And I'm just laying it out there to make our time here a little bit more worthwhile. You've made $125 already, so, you know. Our human kindness opens doors now that can threaten our integrity. We trust each other and we care about each other, and that is exploited. Someone wants to be ahead of my timing, have a better seat. Imagine all of us are alive today because we had ancestors that were determined to survive and be first. It's how life begins when a sperm cell can be the first to, in a race of drunken millions. Let's say, for example, you're at a general admission concert and you want to see better. Now, listen closely because this is one trick that makes up for any time wasted here, okay? $125, and now this trick. If you are at a concert, it's your favorite performer, you want to get right up close, you're down there in the general admission. If someone's dancing on their feet, rocking it out, a Def Leppard, whoever you're there for, okay? Yngwie Malmsteen, I know you're into him. Never gonna hurt me, all one has to do is sneak your foot under the dancer's foot. As they dance, if it goes up, it will come down on your foot. They will recoil, apologize, might even move a few people with them. If you're a woman, because they will just be terribly embarrassed. They've just stepped on your bare foot, and what can they do but just let you pass and move right along? And you're right up there pretty soon with Steve Miller because, you know what, those people are in your rear view. Right there, that alone is worth $1 million. Just what my friend David told me to do. He is the master concert goer, and it works. And that's the trick. You exploit this care that people have for other people, and it happens. So often nowadays that you just don't even have time to figure out before it's too late. You know, and I'm telling you because I love you and I want only the best for you and yours, the neighbor, kid, anyone. And that's why I give you the $1 million ideas. I want someone to make it big. I want somebody to start paying some bills with one of these ideas. Now, what happened is I've been killing time. What happened is this morning I woke up and I had this steaming hot, fresh $10 million idea easily. And then I sat down to quickly, you know, write it down or sort of draw a picture of it, figure out how to explain it. And it's my first thought in the morning, and then boom, it's gone. then all of a sudden, oh no, was it interactive? Is it something practical? Is it something people would wear? Oh no, it's gone. Where'd it go? What did it look like? I try and think of everything. What was I doing? What were my first thoughts of everything? Honestly, I cannot come up with this. And I'm like, oh, this is my best one of the year. I swear. Easily a $10 million just ball breaker of an idea. Just doorbuster of an idea. And so I've tried everything. And it's almost like trying to find keys. I know. Now, here it is. Before I forget it. When I finally remembered it, I guess it's not really a $10 million idea. That's a little too much. But basically, it's for Halloween, where you already have that built-in market. And what it is that when the kids reach out, they'll grab that kettle that you're holding out for them that's full of candy. And you hold it out in such a way that, they don't want it to drop and spill it. And so they'll take it from you and it'll rip your arms right off. And, so... Okay, so the person holds out this bucket with the candy, the kid grabs the bucket, and the person's arms fall off of the bucket, and the kid's left holding this bowl full of candy with these disembodied arms still attached. And maybe even some blood splatter. I think it's hilarious, you guys. I think it's hilarious. I'm glad that one didn't get away. As you know, this show's been long, and I have to call it here. But I want you to know all this music I've been writing for you on this show. I'm so excited for you to hear it today. It's not even finished, but I want you to hear it in its unfinished state so you can hear it grow and become these beautiful pieces of music. And so here is a new song that you might like for the ending music, maybe beginning music, I don't know. I love you. Grateful for whoever you are. As a listener, I am so grateful. And the land of gratitude is such a better place than fictitiousville. As always, stay safe.